Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight my guests are, first up, I'm getting the word, it's Danny the GFP.
What?
You there?
I thought there was more to it than just word.
No, I mean...
You're not asking how I am, what I've been up to, what I'm having for dinner?
No, there was a joke in there, and people that are listening to it that watched Phoenix Nights will get that joke.
I watched it.
Did you get the joke?
No.
Well, unfortunately, it was quite offensive, so probably best you didn't. How are you? Have you had a nice week, etc., etc.?
The offspring is still in Fiji. They haven't killed her yet, and she's not been eaten by a shark. So, house is tidy. That's the most important thing.
Is it really?
It's very tidy. I've had a problem with green bottles. There was 3 in here yesterday attacking me.
Oh. Well, that sounds like you live an entertaining life.
Yes, we had a great night in.
Wonderful. Right. Next up, Arsene Wenger's whipping boy. It's Geoff Arsenal.
Hey, the whipping boy.
The whipping boy.
Yeah.
You had to block many?
No, I've been quiet on the blocking of late.
Have you? I bet you since transfer deadline day, and we got a few players in. I bet you, the haters have been sitting back waiting.
They're still moaning though. They're still moaning.
Oh, what are they finding to moan about this week?
Just everything, anything. They're just moaning. They like to moan, don't they? They just like to shout about something.
Twats. That's what I reckon.
You saw the Ospina was the other night, so we'll get no doubt get onto that. That'll be funny.
Very true. Next up, Dragons and Daffodils. It's Jason Davis. Hello, Jason.
All right, boyo.
Hope. Yeah, I certainly am. I bet you look like a lobster today. Some of the weather we've had up here.
No.
Do you not get it at the Valley?
Excuse me. I'm by the seaside. I'm by the docks. By the docks.
Oh, that's bad. You should have come up to Merthyr. 27 we had it today.
Yeah, it was a 28 in Cardiff. I've been in the office all day. It's been lovely.
Yeah,
it's been lovely.
It's been lovely. So are you angry tonight, or you are happy with justice?
I'm still pissed off. I'm still massively pissed off. But you know what? We've had worse weeks. So, such is life. Such is life.
We'll find out why you're pissed off later. Next up, hello, fannies. It's Aussie Dom.
Hey, what's happening?
It's nice to have you back.
It's good to be back. Got a little bit of time up my sleeves today. It's lovely to come on for a little chit-chat.
And people are going to OD on Australia because you were on the radio show the other night.
I know.
Give it a listen.
It's too much. It is too much.
Fever. It's all over.
I know. Yeah, I'll probably be missing in action for about a month and a half after this, so fear not if you're sick of me already.
No one's sick of you. We want some more unicorn sayings.
Oh, God.
That was used on the forum, and I sent Dom the link. They said he was brilliant on it. That was online Arsenal people. Go and have a look and join up.
He was good. You all sound upset tonight. You all sound sad. Why do you all sound so sad?
Arsenal is shit.
Hopefully, our next guest will bring back the happiness. So, writer for 442 and friend of the podcast, a very warm welcome to Chaz Newkey-Burden. Hello.
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
See, are you happy with the Arsenal?
I am fairly, really, fairly happy and very happy to be here because, as you know from my tweets, I only ever listen to this podcast. Well, I listen every week, but I only ever listen while I'm running. And so I'm currently sitting down and not sweating and not knackered. So it's a nice place to be.
Exactly. Yes.
He's got his own Wikipedia page.
Has he really?
He's wrote 29 books. How the fuck is he? How did we get him? We haven't got any money.
That's the power of
Hang on a
Geoff.
minute. Hang on. You didn't write your own Wikipedia page.
Oh, we tried that. Ours got banned.
No, my publisher put it up, and I'd actually like it down. So it's an embarrassment.
I did
Let me give you one thing about Chaz. Chaz, explain about the Dennis Bergkamp thing that you did. You followed him around for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, legally, yeah.
Yeah, legally, yeah. It wasn't.
Well, I started off writing for 1-0 down, 2-1 up, the Arsenal fanzine, the tail end of the George Graham reign, and then I moved into football magazine writing. And then in 2000, I got a call from a company in Camden, and they said, we're launching a website. Do you want to come and talk to us? And I thought they didn't give me any details, wasn't going to go, but because it was in Camden, I went. And I sat down, they said, we're going to host official homepages for footballers. So we'll sign up players, they'll have their official homepage with us, and you'll basically run it editorially, sort of helping them with their updates, aka ghostwriting, things like that. So I said, which players have you got? And I was still not convinced. And then they said Dennis Bergkamp. And I said, well, I could probably start today. And so basically the job for 2 years, and it is even when I say it now, there's a part in my head that thinks, you sure this happened and you didn't dream it? But it did happen. For 2 years, it was just to hang out with him, basically, run his website. I could tell you, I don't want to sort of divert the agenda, but I can tell you a couple of quick funny stories. I rung him the night that we won at Old Trafford in 2002, right? And the deal was that I'd ring him after each match, but it'd always be the day after. And because we knew in advance that would probably be the league decider, he'd even restated, don't call me that night, like to talk about it, to put my words up on the website. And I got absolutely hammered, right? And basically, long story short, is I was queuing for kebab at about 1 a.m. We won the double, and I drunk dialed Dennis Bergkamp. Couldn't not do it. And the moment he answered, we got on really well. We'd worked together for 2 years by this time, but I still felt mortified when he answered. It sort of sobered me up in an instant, because I thought, fuck, this is really bad. And what actually had happened was all the squad had flown down to London to carry on the party, and he, of course, was in the car. And he being driven down because he doesn't fly. And generally, he used to go down with Vic Akers, who apparently is like the nicest human being ever lived, according to Dennis. And he was bored in the back of the car. He was buzzing, obviously, having won the double at Old Trafford. And he said, oh, please stay on the line. And I thought he was going to be livid with me, and all he wanted to do was talk. Because, as you would in the car, with nobody to talk to when you won the league. And so we ended up talking. I was absolutely hammered. I'm sure I told him I loved him, because I do that with everyone.
Wow. I think we all do.
Chaz, can you please tell him I love him too?
I will. If I ever see him again, I will tell him that first.
Tell him we've named a podcast after him. It's only decent that he bloody comes on.
Exactly. That will be the opening line.
That's it. The first words need to be, oh, did you know about the Bergkamp Wonderland podcast that's named after you? Well, you should give it a listen, and I think they might be a bit keen on you coming on.
Yeah, it could probably slot you in maybe in April in international.
Wow, a guest with such pedigree. Genuinely, I am amazed.
The only other person from ABW that's on any websites is Jason's on the KitKat website.
Yeah.
Oh, you cheeky twat.
Just because you like them, I'm a top. No, which one do I like? The boost.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Has he even been introduced yet, that Welshman?
Yeah, of course he has.
There's
It's
a
Dragons
green
and
MP.
Daffodils.
Oh,
There's a green MP called Jason KitKat. That's his actual name.
Oh,
with
no!
K's. With K's. I'm not lying. Put it in Google.
Wow.
Jason KitKat.
That's 4 fingers of goodness.
Oh, boys, let's leave it. Let's talk about football, please.
Right, first up then we'll head over to the Fat Man with all of the scores across the board, an injury update and a loan watch. Danny.
I just look at this Jason's Twitter. It's a real person. Oh dear, that's not a good time now, I've got to speak. Right, under 23s, we went to Derby County, beat them 3-1, first win of the season. Willock and Apcom only got 2.
Akpom.
So, shut your face.
How many fucking times do we
102.
do this?
You're wrong, he doesn't even know how to spell his own name, it's Apcom. And so, now we're off the bottom, miracle, and we're 10 out of 12. 10th out of 12, we've played 4 games and Sunderland are top, so that proves anything in football is possible. In the under-19s, which is only for European games, we drew 0-0 at PSG, nothing to say about that. The under-18s, they won as well. Nikita, Dragomir and Malin, they scored the 3 goals, beat Southampton, and we are now top of the league. Bloody hell, and it's not even the second division, it's the first division south. And so we're top after 4 games with 10 points, 3 points clear of Leicester in second. Lovely. The ladies, they've had a shit week. They lost away at Man City 1-0 in the Continental Cup, which I think is a continental as in the tyre people, not continental as in Champions League, as I've found out to my error. And then they came to us in the league and beat us 1-0. We hate them. So we played 2 in the week and lost them both narrowly. Man City are top of the Women's Premier League, and they have played 14. They've lost none. They've conceded 3 goals in 14 games. They're 7 points ahead of Chelsea. They're 15 points ahead of us after 13 games. Just give up. And Doncaster Bell's are bottom. They've not won a single game. Injuries. Ramsey is any day now. Gabriel, any day now. Debuchy, any day now. And he said Paulista then, because that's what he's got it down as, but that's not his name. Like, it's not Perez, it's Lucas. And Jenkinson should be about a month. Mertesacker about a month. And Welbeck about 4 months, and then injured, and then out for 6 months again. Right, quick roundup of the loan watch, because we haven't done it so far this season. Jack Wilshere, as we know, is on loan at Bournemouth. He played 27 minutes against West Brom, and they won 1-0. 20 minutes against Watford, they won 3-1. He's played 3 games of all 3 since going there, and all 3 of them he was a sub. Callum Chambers hasn't played a single game yet, but he's been on the bench for the last 3. Super Dan Crowley, he's off at Oxford. Jesus, that man has no luck.
Oi!
You shush your face. Oxford have played 10 games this season. Dan has started 0 games. That's 0. And he's come on as a sub 4 times for a total of 87 minutes in 10 games. That's an average of 8.7 minutes a game. See, I can do the maths. And if you're American, that's maths, not math. Math implies singular unless you're doing one sum at a time. So stop it.
Why are you getting so anal?
Because I fucking hate it when they do that. Oh, I'm going to do some math. What, you're doing one sum? No. Well then, stick an S on the end. He was not in the squad for the last game, and on the bench for the 2 before that. They are 11th in League One, and they're going to go down. Peterborough are going to win that league. Oh, the Peterborough-Oxford derby. That's going to be naughty. You're going to come to that? I'll ruin you.
Fucking right, I will.
I'll mess you up.
I'll let your tyres down.
Fucking, I'll come 4x4. I'll have you on the middle of the pitch, do you?
Of course you will.
Shut your face. Glenn Kamara, Colchester United, came on as a sub in their 3-2 win over Blackpool. That's Blackpool that used to be in the Premier League, are now in the League 2. That's terrible. That's funny. He's now played 1 league game for them now, and they are 5th in League 2, but I think he's only been there for the last 2 games. Ryan Huddart is on loan at Eastleigh in the Conference, not played a game in the last 6, and after starting 2 back in the middle of August, I think he missed the first 2, then he played 2, then the next 6 he was on the bench. They are 9th in the Conference. The 2 games he did play, he let in 5 goals, but they're not doing too bad. John Terrell is playing for Granada in Spain's La Liga. He was not in the squad for the last 2 games, and they lost which they lost. And the first game of the season was a 1-1 draw at home to Villarreal, and I think he played that. They are 18th out of 20 in the La Liga. And Julio he's on loan. Bless you. He's on loan at Mallorca in La Liga too. I don't know why they changed it to La Liga 2. It used to be called Segunda Division, I think. He was not in the squad for the first 3 games and on the bench for their last game, which they lost 1-0 away at Rayo Vallecano.
Vallecano.
It's Vallecano. They're the people who make Meccano. He played in the cup game that they won 1-0 last week, though. I think they won it 1-0 on penalties. They said pens next to it. I don't know what that means. They're rock bottom of the division. This is Mallorca. They used to be in La Liga a little while ago. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Takuma Asano, he's playing for Stuttgart, who used to be, I think that's Hleb. Don't we get Hleb from them? I think we might well have done.
Yeah, I think we did.
I'll just go with it anyway. They're in the Bundesliga too. He came on for the last 9 minutes in a 2-1 loss away at Heidenheim. Just whatever. And was not in the squad for the game before that. They are 9th in the German 2nd Division. He was subbed tonight in their Europa League game away at some team in Czechoslovakia. I'm not sure what the result was when I wrote this. He has played all 3 league games. It ended 4-2, 2-2, and 4-0, 2-2, 3-2, and they're 3rd in the league, which isn't too bad. He didn't play in their first leg of the Champions League qualifier. They drew 1-1, and in the second leg they were down to 9 men and they lost 3-0, and he did his best Jerry Payton windmill impersonation. I think he was up near the halfway line at one point and they conceded a goal, but they were 2-0 down at the time, so it didn't really matter. I'm surprised he didn't play him up front. Joel Campbell, Sporting Lisbon, he has played 1 game for them, coming on in the 21st minute, and they lost 2-1. He also played 1 Champions League game via Real Madrid, coming on for the last 60 seconds, and they lost 2-1. Here we get to the dregs of these people that are going to go nowhere. Oh, this one won't. Tafari Moore, playing for FC Utrecht in Holland, the 1st Division. Not played either of their 2 league games since he's been there. He has played 3 of their second team, Utrecht 2. They play in the 2nd Division there. He's played 3 games for them. They won 1 and lost 2. And his main team, Utrecht, 15th out of 18th in the Dutch 1st Division. And then we've got Stefan O'Connor, Irish legend to be sure, and Kalichi Nwakawali. They're both on loan at MVV Maastricht in the Dutch 2nd Division. Stefan has been on the bench for the last 3 games, and before that he played the whole game, and they won 2-1 via NAC Breda. And Kalechi has done nothing. There you go. He's kicking his toes, but in that 2nd Division, you'd have thought Kalechi is going to do wonders there, because he's a hell of a player.
I was just wondering if there was anyone else awake, to be honest.
See, I did offer to pre-record this bit, and you went, nah, fuck it. Make them suffer.
It's all right. I mean, next week maybe a pre-record. I don't know.
Just think if we let any more players go out online, it'd need its own show.
Oh, it really will. We'll have to have the Bergkamp Wonderland Loan Watch.
Mate, what if we were the Chelsea podcast? They've got about 35 players out on loan.
Oh, can you imagine? It'd be just an hour and a half.
One of their kids is on loan, I think, at Huddersfield or something like that, and he's got 5 goals in 3 games in the Championship. Or was it 6 in 4? Unbelievable. None of our boys would do that. We'd sell them.
Unbelievable, Geoff.
Oh.
We've got 2 matches to discuss tonight, so we'll crack on. Our first topic of discussion will be Saturday's 2-1 win at home to Southampton. So for his thoughts on the game, let's go to Dom.
I did get up and watch this one. 7 a.m. kickoff for me, so not too bad. The 4:30s hurt a little bit, but it was a slow start again. The first half they were pretty unlucky not to be further ahead. I think they definitely deserved the goal that they did score. Petr Cech was probably maybe a little unlucky to tip that onto the bar and then hit him in the bum and trickle in. But overall, I think Southampton came to play. They hadn't been in great form before that either, so they were definitely up for it. I think I noticed the most is how they defended. They definitely made sure that Ozil wasn't able to get onto the ball, and he was dropping quite deep just to get anywhere near it. But after the first half, the second half, we came out and woke up a little bit. Koscielny just kicking goals overhead, doing whatever he likes. I think my exact words when I saw that was, "Who the fuck was that?" And then when he got up, I thought, "Oh, yeah, Koscielny." So I wasn't really all that surprised, which probably tells you just how good the guy is. But yeah, probably not a game that you're going to remember for a long time, is it? That last-minute penalty, was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? There was a foul on Shane Long leading up to it that Monreal sort of stepped on his ankle there, which was probably a foul, but it's about time that we were on the end of some of these dodgy decisions and were able to sneak a game here and there when we may not deserve it, because we are notoriously slow starters in the league as it is, and being 5 points behind already was a game that we really, really couldn't afford to lose any points. So very welcome win.
Yeah, definitely so. And when you play Southampton, you're always going to have a game on your hands. Chaz, we'll go to you next. And we saw Perez and Mustafi start, no matter how surprising that may be. I didn't think we perhaps see Perez just yet. But how did they do?
Well, I thought that Perez looked so sharp and eager, but just seemed to be on a different wavelength to most of the rest of the team. But that didn't worry me, because I'd rather someone was looking impressive on the wrong wavelength on their debut than sort of looking shit on the right one, if such a thing is possible. But I thought he worked really hard, closed his opponents down a lot and ran a hell of a lot. In fact, there was a stat that I think he ran the most or something, or ran a hell of a lot. With Mustafi, I was surprised by the stat, which I don't doubt, about his passing, because the only thing that I thought looked slightly nervous at times was a bit of his distribution. But he looked like he's going to be a very assured defender, and like he's going to fit well into our back four. And I think the other factor is that I think I'm right that Mustafi had only played 1 game this season, his previous club, and Perez had just played 1 half. So, they've sort of come into this sort of odd situation. They're new to the team. They've not really played much so far in the season. So I was pretty pleased with them overall, but neither of them blew me away. And I don't think, I necessarily expected them to. But, Perez did, or Lucas, as we should call him, did get the assist. And all I really want from a new striker, and all I've ever wanted for nearly 2 years now from a new striker, is someone who brings the best out in Ozil, and vice versa. I just think, if we can get such a creature, because I don't think Giroud's that person, and that's just a question of style of play. And so I was sort of watching how he, I was hoping to see some little signs of interaction with Ozil. And I guess the only sort of thing that I did see was that Perez looked like he thinks and moves very quickly. And so does Ozil. When he sees the chance, he wants a striker who he can flick it into dead quick. So that as far as those 2 players went, those were the biggest pluses, I thought.
And I totally agree with you. I don't think that any of us was expected either Perez or Lucas, or Mustafi to set the world alight. But I think as debuts go for either player, it was solid, and I don't think there's too many things that would worry you. But Geoff, we'll go to you next. Just for the fact that Lucas didn't score on his debut, there was I wouldn't say hate on Twitter, but there was a burbling of the possibility he could be shit. Well, what would you say to those people? It's wrong to judge him so soon, isn't it? We're very, very rare that we get a player like Santi Cazorla that just beds into the team and plays from the get-go.
Well, it's Arsenal Twitter, isn't it? To be honest with you, anyone that doesn't have a good game, or they just get on their back straight away. I think Ox is the new bash boy at the moment. I think it'd be really, really unfair that they bash Lucas like that, because, like you say, like Chaz said, if he's only played one game and coming into the Premier League, it's a totally different animal to that Spanish league. You know, it's just all hustle bustle. Yeah, I think he did quite well with regard to, obviously, like Chaz said, he was pressing, doing his best. He did look lively. He does look considerably quicker than Giroud, so I think that will hopefully stand in good stead. And obviously he's got to get to know his new teammates, and I think hopefully it'll go well. Mustafi, I think he looked like he played for Arsenal for a number of years. I think he done really well. His distribution was decent. He doesn't seem stressed on the ball. I mean, there's nothing like. I mean, you compare him to someone like Gabriel. When Gabriel gets the ball, it looks like he's ready to shit himself, doesn't he? Which is unfortunate. But he looks nervous. Whereas Mustafi, he gets hold of the ball. He looks both sides, and I think he could be a good partner for Koscielny.
Do you think part of that? You drew comparisons there, Geoff, between Gabriel and Mustafi. Do you think a major part of Mustafi being able to settle down so quickly is because he speaks English?
Oh, you're guaranteed. It must help you when you at least talk. I have a decent knowledge of the understanding of the local language. Even football's an international game, and you should be able to understand it. I understand it, but at the same time, like I say, the Premier League is so physical and so fierce that and they step up and they drop back, and you've got to know when to. You need to be able to talk to your partners. I'm sure right back and centre half that are, both around you.
Definitely so. Chase, we'll come to you next. And were you surprised that we didn't see the other new boy, Xhaka, get a start? Because it seems to me like he's played fairly well. I know he got sent off for Switzerland the other week, but from what I've seen of him in an Arsenal shirt so far this season, he's been solid. Were you surprised to see Coquelin start over him?
Yeah. To be honest, I am. The guy's range of passing looks really impressive. He looks accomplished. He looks like a great player. And when you compare his range of passing and his ability to Coquelin, I do like Francis Coquelin. I really do. But he does not have the same skill set. He's nowhere near. He's not on the same planet. And, I just don't understand why we're almost, we're playing with one leg tied to the other at the moment. I'm at a loss to understand what's going on with team selection. I've got to be honest there. But it was lovely to get one up on Southampton. They always get decisions go for them. Look at the hammering we had them Christmas time last year, and so good. And I hope Shane Long has a really bad ankle injury.
Oh, Jace, you can't say that.
I hate him.
Danny, we stick with Granit Xhaka, and of course, what did we pay for him in the end? 34 million, something like that.
It's debatable. Every site says a different amount.
I mean, are you surprised to not see him start? Because I know we'll get on to the PSG game, and he didn't start that one either. Now, surely you would have thought with his range of passing that he would have been a dead set starter for PSG. So why aren't we seeing him? Do you think there's something that's gone on behind closed doors? Do you think he's maybe not up to fitness yet?
I think he has been a little bit rash when he has played, which is what we want. We want someone to come in there and smash people up. And he's been a little bit too fond of that. Didn't he come on as a sub and then get booked recently? I know he's not played that many games. I like the bloke, but before the season started, I was saying that if I was manager, I wouldn't get a star player and just, there you go, starting 11 straight away. You play him, you bring him on as a sub, then maybe you start him as a game, then you have him as a sub that you don't use him. But not playing him against Southampton, you'd have thought, oh, that's because he's going to play it against PSG. And he didn't, as we know. And that's very strange. I think I would have liked to see Elneny start a few games as well. Cazorla was really good against Southampton, but he wasn't really good against PSG. So I think this season is going to be so much mixing and moving with our midfield too. It's going to be quite confusing. I mean, already this season we've seen the Ox play on the right and on the left, and then we've seen Sanchez. I mean, I know it's going to be the next game, but the players where he's picking him, he seems to be playing different players all over the place. I know, like I'm looking at whoscored.com at the moment, and just because that says where the players are, and like Ox starting on the left and Walcott starting on the right, all these players do move around. And then I know at the one of the games earlier in the season when some of the players went off, Cazorla went and actually played on the left wing, didn't he? And that didn't work out. That was quite it was sad watching him play there because he hasn't got the pace anymore, has he? It's not like his first season we got him when he was fantastic on the left.
I think there was a lot of people saying, when players are played out of positions, they might not necessarily play as good as they can do. And unfortunately, it's something that we've seen at Arsenal for years and years and years, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. We'll move on from that then. And I think that we should really give Koscielny's equaliser the credit it deserves. And Don, will come to you for this one. It was something else, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Like I said, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I know the Southampton players were appealing for a high boot, but you can't take that kind of thing out of the game, can you? That's the spectacular stuff that you see on highlight reels, and it wouldn't have been, if it was a Ronaldo or someone like that, it would have been a special goal. But for a centre back to be pulling that stuff out of their bum hole's pretty exciting. That we've got someone like that that's capable of those types of things, and I think he's scored the most goals of any defender for Arsenal, something like that now.
You could be right there.
I think so. 21 goals or something. And he's definitely scored some pretty big, important goals over his time for us. So, no, absolutely, that was a bit of a special one, that's for sure.
And he becomes only the third or fourth player to ever score on his birthday, Geoff.
Did he? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
It was a fantastic goal, and it got us, it got us on the got us on the go, didn't it? Thank God.
It certainly did. We should talk about the winner as well, and we won't go really into too much detail because, as we've already alluded, it was a pretty nothing game where the end result, it was clinched right at the end. So, with that said, Chaz, we'll go to you. A lot of controversy surrounding the penalty. Was it or was it not for you?
I'm going to say yes, but because I was directly behind the goal and it was all getting quite excitable there, I actually only sort of saw it in, when you're at the match, sometimes you don't see it as well as when you see it on TV. So I didn't really feel the need to go home and vindicate a decision that went in Arsenal's favour. Of course, if it had been the other way, I would have rushed home to watch the footage. But I have seen it once. I think it was. But I thought it was interesting that... as I can't comment much on the controversy element, that Santi, I was pleased for Santi that he got it because I actually thought he had a good game, but that him and Coquelin didn't work that well together. I thought individually they did well, particularly Santi. But I was just pleased for him because I just always remember how he came, when we got him, he was a really exciting player. And I think he's player of the year in his first year for us and all that. And then obviously we started getting other players of a similar ilk, like Ozil, who's sort of not that dissimilar and stuff. And I sort of always felt that he got a bit overshadowed despite being a really, really good player. And not that we should get too caught up in this, but seemingly a really, really nice guy as well.
Jace, we'll come to you because you're Santi Cazorla's biggest fan.
I love Santi. It's just, how the hell can a player of that ability not hit the target from open play? How?
Well,
if somebody could explain that to me, I'd be really happy.
I think his last 6 goals have all been penalties. His last 6 have all been penalties.
And to be fair to him, there's a hell of a lot of pressure in the 90th minute of a game to go up. It's 1-1. You got to slot it away, and he did it. And fair play to the boy. Fair play. I'd love nothing wrong. I'd love nothing more than for him to bang a hat-trick in from open play. I'd love it. But, when you're not hitting the target and yet you can kick a ball through a tyre from 30 yards, in training, somebody needs to explain it to me because
The crowd have magnets.
I know, he's a great player, but he's 31 now. His movement's not great. It's going to get more difficult for him. But to be fair, he was good against Southampton. There's no getting away from that. He was good, and it's nice that we got somebody reliable who, when it comes to that clutch sort of situation where there is a penalty and you've got to put in the back of the net, he's delivering.
And Danny, we've already got more penalties this season than we did for the entirety of last season. It's going to be our year, isn't it?
Don't jinx it. No, Man City are going to win. They're going to be the new double unbeatables.
Undateables.
I mean, the fact that already this season Aguero's got 9 goals, I reckon maybe only 1 or 2 of our players will get more than that all season. And Santi won't be scoring that. I think the thing with Santi is he had at least half of last season out injured, didn't he? And he's playing. He's having to adapt to a new role, isn't he? Because he's not the attacking midfielder. He's more the playmaker, making everything tick. And I'm not going to say anything bad about Santi because last season I said, he's a pain in the arse. He never scores. And as soon as he left, we fell apart. So I still got my fingers crossed it's going to turn out all right for Santi. But the penalties, it reminds me of the old days when our penalty taker was Lee Dixon. Top goal scorer. Nearly.
Not all doom and gloom.
No, it's not all gloom. All gloom. Or doomy gloom.
Doomy gloom.
Or gloomy doom.
I'll end this segment of the podcast. Of course, you already know we're 6th in the league. All of our business has been done, so we know exactly where we're at. So I think it's about time for everybody to put up their predictions about where they think we're going to finish in the league this year. Danny, should we do top 4 in the league? Where do we think people are going to finish?
You can do if you want.
Yeah.
Someone actually asked us a question about that. Here you go. Email from Brian Johnson. He says, "What's your prediction finish for top 4 this season?"
Let's do that then. Let's integrate the two. We're multitasking here.
I'll tell you what, it's seamless.
Chaz, we'll start off with you then. What's your Premier League top 4? And if Arsenal aren't in it, where do they finish?
I think Man City will finish top. This is a difficult one, 2nd and 3rd, but I'm going to go with my head and say Chelsea 2nd. I think Arsenal 3rd and Man United 4th. But I've just got this odd feeling that Man United might actually do really badly. But realistically, with the players they've got, Man City 1st, Chelsea 2nd, then Arsenal, then Man United.
To be honest with you, that is exactly the way I would have done it. Jace? Geoff?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. It takes a little bit of time, I think, for the string to get down the line to Wales where Jason is, isn't it?
That's like the 3rd Welsh-based joke you've made this evening.
Yeah, well, yes, bash the test tonight, I think it is for me.
Fucking put him on a lead, Danny.
Only joking. I'll tell you what, I did fancy Chelsea. It's really strong because the fact that they've got a fantastic manager who what I've seen and what I've heard tactically is very astute. So I would have thought he'd have got hold of the Premier League and they, have 5 days on the training pitch, so to speak, rather than travelling on a Tuesday night for a game in Europe and a Wednesday, coming back on a Thursday, etc., etc. So I thought that time on the training pitch would really, really do them well. But having seen City and the way they've started, I mean, they just look like a powerhouse, don't they? I mean, hopefully someone will trip them up along the way, but they do look unbeatable at the moment. Everything. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne, what a player he is, that lad. And so I'm going with City first. I still think Arsenal will come 2nd, Chelsea 3rd, and United will sneak in the 4th position.
To be honest with you, Geoff, I'd have thought you'd have gone Chelsea first, seeing as you love their parades and you live there.
Oh, mate, honestly, I can't stand it. I had a week off, a weekend off last year, but no, not again. Thank you.
Shoes on the other foot, big dog. Dom.
I'm on board with Chaz on that one. I think City, Chelsea, Arsenal, United. Hopefully United fall to pieces. They lost again tonight. And hopefully Mourinho's throwing them all under the bus early and all falls to pieces. But I just don't think anyone's going to pip City. I think Pep Guardiola has that team, very
Style
much
of
unified. Yeah, exactly. And he does, doesn't he? Everything's systematic. If someone is injured, like Aguero, Iheanacho comes in and plays the role that he needs to play. And I just don't think they're relying on individuals like they have in the past. Everyone knows their role, and that's I'm a little bit jealous that we don't seem to have that same kind of thing going on at Arsenal.
No,
It's the forward players that they've got, isn't it? I mean, they're really getting the defence out of trouble. I don't rate them defensively.
Yeah, but that's always been Pep's MO, isn't it? He doesn't really put too much emphasis on defending. He thinks, well, if I've got the ball, you don't have it, you can't score.
When you win all those titles with Mascherano as playing centre back when he's only 5'2", and you got Victor Valdez in goal who couldn't catch a goal.
I mean, I do think that Geoff, you're right that if you get at them quick enough, but doing that, you're taking a lot of risks as well. So you're kind of playing into their hands. We've seen what happens with Pep teams when you get a little confident and you try to attack them. What happens?
Yes, we certainly have. Danny, round it off.
Man City are going to get first, second, third and fourth because they're going to be that good. And I'm going to say Bournemouth runners up because they've got the super Jackie Wilshere who's going to get 30 goals this season. And then we're going to finish fifth because I don't trust Wenger to do it right. And as we've seen this season, there's no consistency in the teams that he's picking. When most of the players are fit, still no consistency. And when you get to the point where you're playing an important game and you don't play either of your strikers, and you play someone else up front, what's the point? I don't know.
The thing is with Wenger, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Well, he's not damned if he plays a striker up front, is he? No one's going to go, what are you playing at, man, you fool?
To be fair, come on. When you're relying on a 19-year-old kid on one wing, okay, you're playing Sanchez up top, who was not being great. I'm being kind when I say that.
No, I agree.
Up top, okay, and then you continue to do it, and he's not even doing the basics like you've got a slow centre half, and he's not playing on his shoulder. He's not trying to use that burst of pace. Some questions have got to be asked. I pick Arsenal to win the title every season. I'll still do that here and now. Okay,
how's that going for you, Jace?
Well, not great at the moment, but okay. I have faith. Look, you can look at it analytically like you boys are doing, and fine. But I love the passion of sport, and I'll moan about the Arsenal, yes, but I always believe in them. But you cannot, Ox. You said earlier on about Ox being a bit of a whipping boy at the moment. He's not. The people are commenting on his form, and I'll shout for him all day long when he's on that pitch.
He's exciting to watch. That's what I love about him.
You got to love the boy's attitude. You've got to love it. He's everything you want in a young footballer, but he's not executing on the pitch. He's not doing the simple things at the right time. He's not playing heads-up football. And again, we make the same mistakes year after year. Now, if the manager's not going to learn from that, then, how are the players expected to learn from it?
Didn't Man City do this last season, though? They looked like they were running away with it for the first 10 games, then fell apart.
It is a long one. It is very early. However, I think the difference is that, like I said, Pep's got a system. And I don't think that... If you look at the two teams that did well last year in Spurs and Leicester, they didn't need a plan B because they executed plan A. Every single member of the squad knew their role, and they just did the same thing week after week after week. Arsenal, City and United kind of just kicked the ball around and hoped for some individual brilliance. I don't think there was... And Chelsea were the same. There wasn't really much of a system or a style, or you couldn't really put your finger on what it was that we were doing. I think that's the biggest thing. I would love someone to explain to me Arsenal's style of football at the moment.
That's a question coming up later from
I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't think we have a footballing identity at the moment, and that's worrying. That's the big worrying thing for me.
And the thing is, every player in that Leicester squad last season, every player in this Man City squad at the moment, they know their roles in the team, as you said, okay, and they play as a team, not as individuals.
I'm sure you would have had this before with rugby, Jace. It's the next man up mentality. You can lose your captain, and it's just next man in. You know your job, go and do it, and that's what I think Man City have got at the moment.
It's the same in all sports, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. No substitute for speed. Ball beats the man, and you do your job on the pitch. And yes, everybody can have a bad game. That's fair enough. like in the case of the Ox, for argument's sake, the poor bugger, he's had a really tough season last year, and it's not really, he's a bright pre-season, and then things get tough for him again. He's still a young man, but he's been at the Arsenal for 5 seasons now. And sooner or later, I'm it's harsh to say when you're gonna call it a day and go with a new direction, but sooner or later you have to deliver.
Yeah, I actually don't think that's harsh at all. I'm generally very sort of positive about all players and Wenger as well, as anyone who follows me on Twitter knows to their pain. But I'm quite serious when I say if we could put a moratorium on Wenger signing polite, fresh-faced young men from Southampton, I'd be perfectly cool with that, because I sometimes want to weep when I look at what's happened to Theo and Ox, and even though he's only been with us a couple of years, Chambers. I mean, Chambers, let's deal with him first. He's gone off with that ridiculous beard, and given Giroud's effort, the fact that I'm talking about Chambers' beard, I mean, it is the sort of beard that none of his mates will tell him about. Everyone will go like, look, you look somewhere between an adolescent and a sort of livid big issue seller. But and then you got Ox, who's different. I think I just look at what's happened with them, and it just hasn't worked out with any of them. And I have this sort of nightmarish joke in my head that in Theo Walcott's retirement game, that we'll still be hoping that he's going to show his promise, delivering his promise in that game, and maybe it will justify the whole fucking 14 years that he's been here. It's a little bit harsh. But
no, that's not harsh.
But I actually thought someone mentioned Ox's attitude earlier, and I really like it. But I thought, on Saturday in particular, he looked really like it was getting to him, because it wasn't working for him. And there's no crime in that. All players have games like that. But Ox looked like it was really starting to weigh on him. And sometimes people say, well, if we sold Ox or Walcott, what if they went and thrived somewhere else? Do you know what? As long as it wasn't one of our direct rivals, I'd be chuffed for them. And I'd be chuffed for us. And in terms of the system, you remember when we beat Hull, obviously you do, in the FA Cup, that season? We had such a run that season where you knew who we were going to play, you knew what we were going to do, and we were really energetic.
Only due to injuries, though, wasn't it? We had no one else.
But when Ramsey was really on form, and when Ozil sort of hit the ground running, and it felt like there was a real team spirit, and it felt like they all really liked each other. I still think we haven't quite sort of got back to that since. We've had... we did have a good run the following year, of course, calendar year. But I just don't feel like Wenger quite knows what he's going to do. He's got Ox, he's got Theo, he's got Sanchez, he's got Ozil, he's got Cazorla. He's trying to fit all of these players into not the same position, but the same part of the pitch. And I'm not sure this season whether he knows what he's doing with it. And the trouble is that we've gone on at him for years to rotate. And part of me wonders whether these crazy selections are him saying, yeah, okay, you had enough now. You're going to stop talking about rotation and let me play the same team again? Because why Xhaka's on the bench, I don't understand.
Do you think that after watching the Arsenal, the friendly thing where they had the stars in, do you think Theo's going to do that, come back when he's 50, score a hat-trick, and then that'll be his last ever game for us like Kanu did?
Yeah, I could definitely see him coming back as a legend, but possibly more of the Justin Hoyt one. No, I think he scored in cup finals, for goodness sake. He scored in 2 cup finals for us, so good luck to him.
Yeah,
I think you've been a bit harsh on the Ox. Honestly, I think I see a fantastic player. I see a lot more from the Ox than I do from Theo. I mean, I think he's got a lot more ability. I mean, I just see him as when he gets the ball and he does make that driving runs straight at fullbacks or even the centre of the opposition's defence. I just think there's a lot more to come from the Ox. He's just unlocking it. He's maybe I think he's suffering a little bit with his confidence, but I think he can feel that from the crowd giving him a little bit of stick,
But Geoff,
so I know what you're saying. I honestly understand what you're saying, Jace, but I definitely do. I think the kid's really has got the lot. He's got plenty of pace. He's got fantastic energy. He can dribble with the ball. He can strike with both feet. If he could just get a little bit more confidence and he can play his way into it.
I agree with you, Geoff, okay? I agree on all those points, okay? I agree in his attitude. I agree he's got a bit of metal about him. Let's be fair. As Chaz was saying, okay, so you can see signs of it getting to him on Saturday. Shows a hell of a lot of character after the season he had last year for him to now finally show in him. But unless he uses his vision, all those driving runs, yeah, he's got talent. We know. But unless he's going to use his vision and play heads-up football and make the easy pass when it's there, then he's never going to develop. And that's my worry about him. I love that kid. He's a totally different kettle of fish to Theo Walcott. But you want to send him a text message. Look up, look left. And that's the frustration with him.
Is there anybody at the club that would be taking him to the side and giving him some words of wisdom and some advice? Because it just seems to me that he's just, everything he does is 100 miles an hour and there's no second or third gear.
I think Theo is taking him aside by the
Yeah,
sounds of
it looks like it, doesn't it? Now, they're very different players, I think, Theo and Ox, but it just seems to me that he doesn't do some simple things and slow the game down, let the game come to him a little bit more rather than forcing everything to happen at 100 miles an hour, because that's all I see is just get the ball and just run. There just doesn't seem to be much thought in what's going on, and he doesn't combine well and play 1-2s and make little runs. It's just very one-dimensional, and everyone sort of accuses Theo of being one-dimensional, but I just see the same problems with the Ox, but just in a different aspect of the game. And I don't know, maybe Geoff would be a little bit more astute in knowing what sort of coaching would you think that he'd be getting.
Yeah, I'm sure Wenger or one of the coaches would take him aside and maybe politely ask him to, just be a bit more calmer on the ball and be a bit more calmer rather than that 100 mile an hour. Obviously, he's just nervous, isn't he? He's so keen to do very well and to make progress and do well for the team that sometimes he's going a little bit too fast. But he's really he's starting to frustrate me. Is Alexis. He's starting to drive me mad because I just wish he would play the simple ball sometimes. He gets himself in some positions and he tries to play passes through the eye of a needle, and they're just never going to get there. And it's usually we're in the throes of an attack. We've got two fullbacks that are just going past him at the same time, and he'll give the ball away and break away. The other team will break away on us, and that's when we're at our most. We struggle. I just wish he would. It's been 3 seasons now. I've said the same thing. Listen, I wouldn't drop him because he's a fantastic player, but he does frustrate me. The way Arsenal play their game, the quick movement and the passing that we're still trying to get hold of this season, of course, we haven't seen that so far. But he breaks our play up and he slows us down sometimes. And I just wish he'd get. I think so. I wish he'd get hold of it.
I agree with that. I really agree with that.
Right then, boys, we'll move on to the PSG game, and we'll try and do this as quickly as possible because we have some great listener questions tonight, don't we, Danny?
Certainly do.
So, Jace, we'll start off with you then. And 42 seconds, and we conceded a goal. Is it just a case that we were caught cold?
Yeah, we're still in the dressing rooms again. We seem to say this first game in Europe every year. It's ridiculous. When you look at the back four, you've got Bellerin, who's now he's still a youngster, but it's not his first European outing. You got Koscielny, captain on the pitch. How many Arsenal appearances? Top Arsenal defender, goal scorer, whatever it is. You got Monreal. Mustafi's new to the team. He needs time to bed in. You got to give him a bit of time. That's fair enough. But the start was just horrific. It was beyond belief, and it's not the first time. You look at our start in the campaign last season. It's the same old story. And this is the bit which is really beginning to get to me now. It's not been it's not the first time it's happened. It's every bloody season. It's every big game in Europe. It's ridiculous. And it's not just the back four. Santi Cazorla, Francis Coquelin, where the fuck were they? Where were they? You hardly saw them during the game. And when you did, or they made a bit of an effort, they were dog shit. Dog shit. And, and not just for the goal. Throughout the game, they you saw the Man City game a couple of seasons ago. Now, to be fair, Santi's got a few more miles in the legs now, and he had a bad injury last year. You kind of know. But why have we got Xhaka and El Nene on the bench? Why? You know, our passing and movement is poor. The first goal was utterly ridiculous. It was farcical. You know, our centre halves, they need to be tight. They need to know where each other are. My God, it's like finding where's Wally. I can't see Koscielny in the final picture when Cavani gets his head to the goal. You know, great movement by Aurier. Fantastic movement. Fantastic finish by Cavani. Thank God he didn't repeat that during the night. You know, regardless of the end result, it was one of the most disappointing performances I've seen from an Arsene Wenger Arsenal side in my whole time there.
I mean, that first half was like you said, farcical. I mean, where do you even go with it? But we'll pick it apart and try and pick away the good points of it. I think the first good point would be David Ospina starting in goal. Chaz, we'll go to you with this one. He was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was great, and it was just so nice to see, because he must know. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't sit looking at Twitter, but he must know that when he gets thrown in for Champions League games, you know, that there are a lot of people out there saying, what the hell's going on? And it was a proper sort of a heroic performance, a sort of one where you just felt that whatever was thrown at him, obviously after the opening goal, whatever was thrown at him, he was going to deal with. And I think that it, in time, really assured the back four, which is actually a much underrated, in my opinion, part of a good goalkeeper, is how the back four relate to him. When he first came, they were always much happier, I felt, with him than they were with Szczesny. But I mean, that's not a very high bar, admittedly. But I sort of felt, I felt pretty positive about the whole thing afterwards, because I felt that we'd had 2 matches in a row where we'd returned to, the 80s and lucky Arsenal. And, I remember the George Graham era was such joy, and we seemed to have jammy wins all the time then. And I absolutely love them. Seem to be some people, I know that we're an impossible fan base to please, but there's some people who really don't relish them. I think it's hilarious when you get, it wasn't a lucky win, it was a lucky draw. But I think it's hilarious when you get a lucky result. Did you see that L'Equipe, by the way, gave Mustafi 2 out of 10 for the game?
Really?
Which I
all the ratings they gave were just diabolical, though. They do it on purpose.
But to be fair, how can you give Mustafi 2 and Koscielny 5? It was ridiculous, isn't it?
And I also think on the Alexis thing, on his selection in this game, that really, that was probably actually the bit that troubled me most, because I think as the lone striker, that's a real role, especially away in Europe. And sorry to hop back to the Graham era again, but Alan Smith used to do that a lot when we were in the when we were in the Cup Winners' Cup, and Giroud's done it as well. That sort of lone striker. And 2 things you need to be. Well, there's several things you need to be. It helps if you're big. Alexis isn't big. That's not his fault. You have to be very selfless, and he's not selfless. He's one of the least selfless players I've ever seen play for Arsenal. And you have to be good at keeping possession, and he's nearly as bad as Ox is. So for me to see him in that position, I thought that was a very weird sort of choice. But then he goes and gets equaliser, so shows what I know. But I think that to win the Champions League overall, you need so much luck. And look at it so far. We've had luck with the group we've got drawn in. It's a pretty lucky group, and I think we were lucky to get a point out of our first match. So far, so good in that on that front. But also, I think if you look at some of our players like Alexis, Ozil and Santi, I don't know, maybe they're better suited for European games than they are the league, both in terms of the style of play and that they sort of aren't, consistent players, that they sort of put in these great performances. So I'm not suggesting we're necessarily going to go and win it, but I think we could do better this year.
No, I agree. Dom, do you think we were lucky in the fact that Cavani took his opening chance and then was so poor for the rest of it?
Oh, it was hilarious. If he wasn't doing his best Stevie Wonder impersonation, we would have got thumped 5-1. But fortunately for us, he did not have his shooting boots on. I don't know what he put on, but every time the ball got near his feet, it was comical. Which were, I mean, his movement's fantastic. He just had no finishing. And it's about time, like, Chaz mentioned, the amount of times we've seen our strikers do that in European games, where we'll dominate games and walk away losing or not quite getting the result we're after because we just spurned so many chances. But Like I said, it's still worrying to me that we still don't seem to have any kind of consistency in our style of play. I don't know what the tactics were. Although, it's a little bit difficult to kind of analyse what we were trying to do when you go 1-0 down that quickly, because PSG can then just dictate the game by sitting back and launching counterattacks, and they definitely have the personnel to hurt any big team in the world. With your Di Marias and your some of the midfielders that they had there. So the game was definitely changed instantly, and whatever plan Arsene Wenger had, we'll never know, because it just got turned on its head after 45 seconds. And it was interesting that in the post-match press conference, Arsene mentioned that the mistake was letting the cross come in, which I found interesting, because I know that Monreal's been guilty of that before, allowing crosses come in just a little bit too easy and standing off players. And I do wonder if we may see a little bit of Kieran Gibbs coming up, maybe get a bit more of a run in the team. But yeah, look, it was the team selection was the thing that baffled me. I still can't really understand it. The only thing that I can think is potentially me and the other Geoff caught up last night, and we always solve all the world's problems when we meet. And the only thing we could come up with was that potentially the Coquelin and Cazorla partnership worked last year in certain games. And Xhaka was away on international duty, and Cazorla and Coquelin weren't, and potentially they were in training a lot more together and partnering each other in training games, etc., and he thought that it would be a safe bet to go with those two. Who knows? But that's the only kind of rationale that I can think of. I really just am as baffled as everybody else.
And we still got a bit to talk about in terms of the PSG game. Geoff, would you just like to sum up your opinion of the Giroud and Verratti altercation, should I call it? Could the referee have just, turn a blind eye, or did they both have to walk?
I don't think it was fair. Both of them should not have gone sent off. It was handbag, wasn't it? Really, to be honest with you, it was nothing in it. It's just the game was petering out, and they just come together, and it was nothing. And what surprised me, that both they haven't appealed. Which is really strange. Going back to the game though, listen. You're playing against a PSG team that won the French league at a canter last year. I think it was 30 points or some ridiculous amount. They're a team that playing at home. They haven't been beat at home for like 17 months or something. They've knocked Chelsea out of the Champions League in the last 2 seasons. They've got some fantastic players, brilliant players, And although they should have been 3-0 up at half time, I grant you that. I think we grew into the game. I really do. I think some of our passing was good. The first goal, like Dom said, it straight away it changes your game plan to whatever you had, because you go for first, you go 1-0 down in 45 seconds or some madness. I mean, we was caught a little bit cold, but Bellerin, with a little bit of more experience, I think he should have got round. As soon as you lose the ball on the other side of the pitch, a right back supposed to tuck straight in 10 yards like a leash, like the old days, like Chaz was talking about in the George Graham era. He wouldn't have been so high up the pitch, and he would have been straight round. It'd have been 10 metres away from the nearest centre half, and we'd have most probably covered that. But because there was a gaping hole there, Mustafi didn't know whether to stick or twist, whether to go in or come back out, and he was caught in between the middle of them. But you know what? Over the course of the game, I think we grew into it, and I was really disappointed that Iwobi didn't stick that away, and we didn't come away with 3 points, because if it was TT or something on the ball there, that would have been whooshed straight into the net.
Geoff, sorry, ask a question of you guys, okay? So if Wenger's saying, okay, the mistake was letting the cross in, and we know Aurier and PSG have got some real talent on those wings, and they're going to come out the blocks. We know, I can't remember the manager's name, Amrate. He's got a top pedigree in Europe at Sevilla. They're going to come at you. Why haven't Iwobi and Ox been told, right, tuck in, protect your fullbacks. Let's make sure we make it as difficult as possible for the first 10 minutes.
Well, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were briefed about it. But it's young kids. It's a big game. They get out there playing against all them fantastic footballers, and maybe it was just a lack of concentration. I think that, like I said, that comes with experience. I think they'll gain that in experience. I think he was struggling all night long, Monreal, wasn't he? Because I think he wasn't getting that protection as well from Iwobi. Plus, sometimes you have got to give credit where credit's due. The fullback Aurier, he's a good attacking right back, isn't he?
He was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to, these good players, sometimes you can't do a lot about it. You just got to hope that once the ball does come in, the centre-halves and the goalkeeper and all the defence, they get in front of it. And they did most of the night. They got there was a hell of a lot of balls come in from both sides of the pitch, and they dealt with them, thankfully. Otherwise, it could have been a lot more.
Oh, no, I agree. Chaz, I want to ask you a question now. And just to finish this off, we'll talk about substitutions and the way that Coquelin was booked after 20 minutes. Of course, we all know the type of player that Coquelin is. He likes a challenge. Why do you think it takes Arsene Wenger 70 minutes to make a substitution when we've got a player on that is in a dodgy situation like that?
Yeah, his substitution policy always does confuse me. I do remember once, I think he took someone off early in the season, I think last season or season 4 at half time. And I remember it sort of jumping out, really standing out that he'd made such a supposedly drastic decision. Whereas for other bosses, if it's not working out with someone, or if, as you say, they've taken a booking and they're likely to take a second, dragging them off even in the first half or at half time is no big deal for other bosses. And Mourinho, not that we necessarily want to emulate him, he puts on subs and takes them back off again. So I don't really get what he's doing now. I do remember actually hearing that he basically has a huge emotional issue with it, and that he also has this technical issue whereby he thinks that he knows the exact minute that different players will tire, and he gets very caught up in that rather than doing it necessarily in a tactical way. And what does frustrate me about that is that if you look at the 2014 FA Cup final against Hull, there he did do some very explicit tactics, both in the form of substitutions when he chucked Jack and Rosicky on. It really changed the game. And so it sort of shows how when he's up against it in a cup final and he's 2-0 down against Hull, then he'll be into sort of playing things differently with substitutions. Oh, yeah, and he also took Podolski off and put Sonogo on, of all people. And again, that sort of all of these changes worked. But he did that when he was really under pressure, when it was a cup final, when he was about to lose to Hull, and when he'd actually decided, according to rumour before that he'd leave if he lost that cup final. So if he can do it then, he can do it against PSG, frankly. And I wish he would.
And just to finish off the PSG game, at face value, do we look at this? This is going to be our hardest group game. We've come away with a point. It's all gravy, isn't it, Danny?
Yeah. Looking at the history books, I always say, we'll look at this and go 1-1 away at PSG. A point from your away game against your hardest team, and then win the rest of your games. Even if we get a draw at home to PSG, that wouldn't be the end of the world, as long as we beat the other two teams home and away. And Ludogorets of, is it Romania or Bulgaria?
Bulgaria, I think.
Yeah. We should be able to do those. They're a team that have come all the way up through the leagues in consecutive seasons. And Basel, well, until recently, Basel were a decent team, but they've sold us one of their best players, and a few other better players have moved on. But I think if we can get a draw with PSG at home and win the others, we should get through. But with the goal and Cavani scoring that soon on, you could look at when, just as the player was running down the right hand side, just about to cross it, you could see Koscielny jogging back from the halfway line. Now, I was thinking, when I watched it again, I thought, why would he be jogging back? He should have been sprinting back. He could see that our holding midfielder Coquelin wasn't really going to do much about it, and he could see that the fullbacks were struggling to stop him, and it's just a perfect header. And then it's just maybe a once in a, like Chris always says, a once in a blue moon thing with Cavani, because he watches him play for PSG every week in Ligue 1, and he says he's shit. Oh, that noisy twat on a bike.
30 goals a season every season for the last 6 years, whatever it is. Yeah.
Has he?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. 20 plus league.
No,
wow.
League, he's got 16, 18, 19.
No, over the season, though. It's 20 plus, sorry, and 30 in most of the seasons.
What, in the league?
I'm pretty sure it's 20 league goals every season.
No, the league is 16, 18, 19.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
The French league is fucking shit, though.
Before that, for Napoli, he was getting 26, 23, 29. That's when he was a hell of a player.
Either way, he scored against us. But the worrying thing as well for us, from our perspective, is their keeper didn't have to make a save until he saved the Iwobi goal, which led to the Sanchez finish. He didn't have to make a save.
That was a bit worrying, wasn't it?
More than worrying. You can look at stats all you want. But
here we go. Looking at his total goals, 25, 31,
do you know what is worrying, though, Jace?
What?
With the 2 goals against Southampton were our only 2 shots on target.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm not being funny. We're not playing beautiful football anymore. We haven't done for quite some time. We seem scared of taking shots at goal. I'm concerned. Yeah, I agree with Chaz. Let's laugh at it. We've got lucky. We've taken a point away from home at a tough place. But, I'd be far more concerned about Ox heading back across goal and, not even getting shots on target when we've got decent opportunities. As much as we had some decent possession in that game, we were very ineffective.
I think all I want to know is 2 fit strikers. Why didn't you start one of them? That's all we got them. That's the only question I want answering. We can allow the goal because it was a lucky goal.
It was a quality goal.
It's much like after you concede, after you score, a lot of teams can score against you straight away after because you're not ready for it. And I think we started the game, we weren't ready for it. I mean, if you went out and look at each of those players, they probably didn't even realise what was going on for the first 32 seconds.
I think that we've been starting this season. I think we've been starting differently than to previous seasons. I remember, we used to always go out and try and blitz teams in the first 20 minutes, and I think teams used to take that on board and just pack out the defence and just hold tight, and they know that we'll always give them a chance later on in the game. This season, it seems like that Arsenal's intent on just letting the game just stroll on. Not do that high press, but then come out in the second half and start pressing. Maybe he's got it in his head that we can't press for 90 minutes, which is I think a fair comment. Maybe he's maybe trying to trick the other sides into just maybe trying to draw them onto us rather than us go gung-ho at them for the first 15, 20 minutes. And we press high and press hard in the second half. I think that PSG game, we come out in the second half, we started pressing them all of a sudden. That's when we got most of our success in possession. We're winning the ball higher up the pitch, etc., etc. Although we wasn't having many strikes on goal, but our possession was better, wasn't it? Maybe that's from what I've seen from the start of the season. I don't know what you guys think.
But Geoff, fair enough. Okay, he can turn tactics around, but once again, Europe, we didn't start a game at all properly. But when we did have possession, we weren't effective. We seemed disjointed. We gave the ball away a hell of a lot. I don't know what Chaz thinks about it, but I'm really concerned about how often we give the ball away. And Cazorla, Coughlin, fair enough, he hasn't got the ability of Cazorla and Ozil and what have you. But Cazorla and Ozil didn't turn up on Tuesday night, really.
Well, I am worried about the way that the level of maintenance of possession. Sorry, I lost my ability to speak English, and I'm worried about how cheaply we're surrendering possession. And I think later in the European tournament, that's going to be more difficult and more dangerous because if you give the ball away in Europe, you're pretty much screwed. And we've got so many players who are masters of giving away possession, like Ox and Alexis. But I do still feel quite positive about Europe, and I don't know where Geoff sort of places himself on the pro-Wenger scale, but I certainly used to be the Islamic State of pro-Wengers, but I've now softened to between Al-Qaeda and Hamas of pro-Wengers. But frankly, in that first half, when we were conceding the goal and giving away possession, I was veering towards ANC or the real IRA of pro-Wengerdom. So at some point, I'll reach the middle ground, which I guess is the sort of the Fatah or the PLO. I don't know who or the ALF. I suppose they're the most moderate terrorists. But yeah, the possession is a worry, particularly in Europe and also against the top teams in England.
Right then, so that's pretty much a rundown for PSG. So we'll go over to Danny for some listener questions.
I'm just trying to do my Sainsbury's online shopping. I just realised I've got to get it done by 11 o'clock. Jesus, disaster.
Are they sold out of lard
No, I'm just getting fresh
and
chicken.
cholesterol
Chicken, bananas and grapes. There you go, that'll do you.
and full fat Pepsi?
Oh, I don't drink any Pepsi, you minge.
And
Right,
3
Omar
kilo
Reza,
bars of ice cream.
who spent many years at Arsenal. He's an upcoming guest, isn't he?
He certainly is.
Yeah, he says, why do Arsenal continuously get abused by the media while Man U don't even get criticised for performing poorly? Oh dear. Dom.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not over there, so I don't really follow the media too much. But I think it's a numbers game sometimes. I think. Well, it's no secret. Arsenal have one of the biggest online followings and media followings of any of the teams in England, and it's an easy target. You poke the hornet's nest, don't you? You say something critical, watch all the Arsenal fans get irate and share and link and click and say, "Can you believe this arsehole said this?" And it gets the media coverage that they're after. No one wants to hear a vanilla story. So there are different. We do operate on a different level. I think because Arsene Wenger has always tried to have this moral upstanding and seem to be doing things a certain way that you kind of want to hack that down a little bit and poke at it when it doesn't quite work. Whereas Mourinho seems to be a bit of a sideshow, and they poke him just to get a headline as well. So I don't know. It's not. I never really take any notice of the media too much.
Yeah, probably a wise thing. Anyone else got an answer for this?
I think it's something to do with social media as well, because Arsenal are mainly the biggest supported on social media. Clickbait and stuff like that. They just want to poke away at Arsenal so they get as many hits as they... Because obviously, Durham's made a living out of it, isn't he? On TalkSport, he's made a living out of just poking at Arsenal and their fans and the manager and their players every single day.
Good point. Who else was going to say something about this then?
Well, I was just going to say, working in the media, I'm often told by my editors that anything about Arsenal is almost guaranteed to get more clicks than other clubs because of the high amount of Arsenal fans on Twitter. And I think the other dimension is, we've had the same manager now for, just a couple of weeks short of 20 years. And, I'm still all for that. But there's a lot of fans who feel, almost deranged with frustration, and they can't see the end in sight. And so basically we've become like a bunch of drama queens as a fan base. We really, really have. It's ridiculous. And therefore we are that much more susceptible to clickbait.
That is sadly very true. Anyone else want to make a point on this, Gimli?
Mourinho's a cunt.
Fair enough, and that sums it all up. Brian Johnson, who sent the email in earlier, also asked this second part of the question. What do you think of the Legend game, and would you have had Carnu back on the bench to come on as super sub? Jason?
Legends game, fantastic, isn't it? Nice to see it. It's great stuff. But it's a Legends game, and it's nice to see it every year. Maybe it made up for not having an Emirates Cup this season. Lovely to see Bobby Pires and Freddie on the pitch.
Don't
just seeing those guys again.
Overmars has got, because that would be disrespectful.
Do you know what?
Fatty Overmars.
Hey, look, for that finish at Old Trafford all those years ago, I love that man forever. he can get bigger than you, and I'm not going to care. Okay, I'm not going to care.
Low blow.
But as for Carnu, he kind of brought back memories of that Chelsea game.
He's still only 26.
No. That's 126. Oh, he was 76 when he joined us, to be fair to the guy.
Me.
But yeah, what a talent that guy. It still is, obviously. I mean, does he have size 14 feet or something stupid like that?
Yeah, his feet are in sometimes different time zones. They're that big.
Coco the Clown.
Right, next question from Mark Blondau, and he says, why are we so bad when it comes to positioning in regards to overlaps on the flanks? Dom, what do you think?
The only thing I can think of is that the wingers that we do have cut inside so much that the only width we do get is when our fullbacks do overlap and get down deep. But unfortunately, that makes us very easy to play against, because if you get counter-attacked, then it's just easy to quickly spread the ball wide because they're all out of position. So I think that is a bit of an issue. I really do.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure how to answer that one. Right, next question is from Mark Bonner. It's coming up to 20 years since Wenger took over the helm at Arsenal. What is your favourite Wenger quote? Well, I don't think I have one, so does anybody have one?
I do.
Oh, go on then.
I didn't see the incident.
Yeah.
World class.
Or lacks mental strength.
Or little bit handbrake.
And facilitating what is beautiful in men. That was one last season, wasn't it?
What about? Go on.
Well, he said he's, as a manager, he's here to facilitate what's beautiful in men. So you have to wonder there's not much beauty in Stepanovs.
Oleg Luzny.
I like the one when he said to the journo Neil Ashton, "Why you look at me?" It was great, wasn't it?
I think I like the. I didn't see it. I think that's a good one.
I tell you what, his finest moment is getting sent off for Old Trafford, standing there with his arm.
That was funny. Funny.
Even the United fans loved it. It was class.
He was standing there with his arms open wide, saying, "Well, where the fuck am I supposed to go here?" Didn't he? Without getting lynched.
Right, next question, I'll give it to Geoff. It says from Carl from our podcast and radio show. He says, can you discuss Monreal's poor form recently? Should Gibbo get a recall?
It's a good question, that one, as it happens. I think he has started a little bit slowly, but again, I think it's to do with the protection down on that left-hand side. He needs a little bit more. Both fullbacks need protecting. They can't, if you've got some decent wingers that are, do really attack rather than play like Theo when he tries to hides and stuff like that. Yeah. If you're playing against, tricky wingers and tricky fullbacks that are attacking fullbacks, you do struggle. But it's a good question, and maybe he will rotate. But I think Monreal's a fantastic player. I think he was maybe a pound for pound our best player last season. Over the course of the season, not very, very popular. But because he doesn't do the flicks and tricks and he won't score you many goals, but for bread and butter players, I like him. I really think he's a great player for Arsenal. He's done well.
And the problem is anyway, if you throw Gibbs in without the protection, Gibbs gets it in the neck anyway. It's going to be a step back where he didn't have the greatest seasons last season, Gibbs, for a reason.
He's a bit too attacking, isn't he? He needs to learn his defending a bit more.
Yeah, he needs to show a bit more mental strength, as Arsene would say.
Carl also wants to know, Dom, what do you think of John's beard?
Subpar.
Oh, Jesus, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it, but he used to have a good one, and then he decided to shave it, and now it just resembles something of a homeless person or a pedophile.
Half-hearted. Or half-hearted, something like that. Brian,
Danny,
yes.
I was going to say, I look at John's beard and I think of the hashtag Let's Make Poverty History.
Oh,
yeah.
Dear. Poor old John.
Is he the Colin Chambers of the pod now?
He is, yeah.
Dear. Right, Brian Matuvo says, I'm going to give this one to Chaz. He says, would you rather sell Wilshere or Ozil to Tottenham? You can just tell him to piss off.
Yeah, easiest answer. I mean, it's got to be Wilshere because A, we don't want Ozil to go, and B, just watching the Spurs fans having to accept Wilshere after his annual drunken taunting of them would be brilliant. So yeah, I mean, Ozil, I don't want to go anywhere. So sell him Wilshere.
Could you imagine his first interview? So, Jack, what do you think of Tottenham?
Well, I was quite hoping that Bournemouth would win a cup and that he'd just start shouting that at their victory parade.
That would be good. That'd be good.
AB Gooner says 5 games and an international break in. Apart from a 45-minute spell against Watford, we are still looking quite average. Any thoughts on why, Gimli?
No, I think we're just clicking. We've got some new players come in. Unfortunately, he doesn't play them. But I think it's just starting the season. For the last couple of seasons, we've started slowly and then picked up. I can see a rich vein of form coming. I mean, a draw against PSG, good result. We beat Southampton. Let's build on that and go from there. And hopefully we'll get many more wins throughout the season.
Lovely. Right, I want a yes or a no from all of you. From Chennai Guna, do you ever see us playing a 4-4-2 with Giroud and Perez up front? Chaz?
No, I don't, but I wish we would because I miss 4-4-2 so much.
It would be good. Leicester showed how good it is. Dom?
There's more chance of hearing Jason say, "Not tonight, love. I just want to cuddle."
Jace.
Not tonight, love. I just want to cuddle.
Jeff.
There's more chance of Gimli going a week without a joint than playing a 4-4-2.
And you're not talking beef or pork, are you?
Whatever Johnny fancies.
Gimli, finally? Oh, I don't think so, but Gimli?
I ain't going dry.
No, that ain't happening.
Nope.
It's not going to happen. It's never going to play 4-4-2.
Nope.
So also Noma Mabandla. Yeah, I think I got that kind of right. It says, why do we never try two up front? Giroud would thrive. Ozil free in the free role. I think. Do we all agree that it would be worth trying?
Yes.
Yeah, good. We've had a couple of decent questions from Noma recently. Pete Gooner. Does Wenger know he... I'm reading it again on over W. Does Wenger know his best 11? Does anybody think that he does? Because
No.
I don't.
No.
Jeff?
I don't know.
You don't know if he knows or not.
That's
a double negative.
He most probably does, but he likes to just rotate, doesn't he?
Oh, here's one for you, Jeff. You might know from
Go on.
Rohan Naidu. Is Ospina really causing trouble in the camp by demanding game time? Ooh.
No, what a lot of old cods that is. No, definitely not. Not
No?
causing trouble.
You want players on game time?
I think everyone demands game time, don't they? But no, he's not. I don't think he's screaming it from the rooftops.
The problem would be if he wasn't demanding game time.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And to be fair,
He could have left in the summer and chased first team football. He decided to stay, so no, he can't be that.
I think he's had one bad game for Arsenal, honestly. And I don't, that particular game. It wasn't his fault that we actually lost that particular game. It's the stats from the previous season that he did play a lot of the time was brilliant. He must have been the best goalkeeper in the league for the time that he played. And since we've had Czech, he hasn't played at all, really.
I'm a fan of his. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
He's quick.
I'm not being funny. There's some basics he gets wrong, but to be fair to the guy, he's got a good attitude. He has a go. He can pull off the spectacular. It was nice to see him do well.
I don't know a goalkeeper that doesn't make mistakes. Honestly, I really don't.
I don't mind Rickett. It's like at the end of the game when he made that spectacular save. He's given the ball away. In a silly position. That happens. But, he used to, when he first came into the team, he would continuously drop the ball in the area. Now, that's a bloody basic. The Swansea game, where he's going with his outside arm for a shot, when he should be going with his inside arm, that's a basic. If you want to be world class, you get your basics right. A Rickett, I got no problem with. But, your basics, but good for him from Tuesday. He was magnificent.
No, I think we're very, very lucky to have Ospina as our second keeper. And if I'm correct, I heard this week that he will be playing all of our Champions League games. I think that might have been what's convinced him to stay for another season. But make of that what you will. Danny, have we got any more questions?
Yeah, if the recorder doesn't, the recorder's just stopped and then started again. So it's about the fifth time it's done that.
Maybe
we don't
we'll
know
try
why.
and keep this brief because we don't know. Well, the recorders.
Bubba Boona had a good question. N Morrison 99, North Armory and Passanel, but we're having troubles with the recording. It keeps bloody stopping, so I'm gonna have to try and piece this lot together. So might as well just move on.
Yes.
Just do predictions, isn't it?
Yeah, just predictions for Hull away. We'll start with you, Danny.
Actually, Hull are in form, aren't they? Manager of the month. Hopefully he'll get the curse, and we'll go there. We beat him 3-0, and I think Lucas will get the first goal.
Okay, Geoff?
2-1. I'm going to say Giroud for now. So I fancy Giroud might start the weekend.
Okay, Dom?
I think it'll be a really tough game. I think maybe 1-0 to Arsenal with Giroud scoring.
Okay. Jace?
4-1 to the Arsenal. Ox to score first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chaz?
3-1 to Arsenal, Ozil.
Okay, and I'm going 3-1 to Arsenal, Lucas. There you go. Right then, shout outs, and then we will wrap this up. I'm going to start off. My shout out tonight goes to at the PA Gooner. He correctly guessed that I named my Labrador after Theo Walcott. So he's a top Gooner. So get following him. Like I said, he is at the PA Gooner. Danny.
As usual, I'm going to go for the last person to tweet me. It was someone called, to make sure he's an actual Arsenal fan. Oh, here he is. It's Bobby Boucher. It is at Bing Bang Boucher, Buche.
He's the water boy.
Is he?
Water
I don't know
boy.
He looks very angry. I don't know who that is. Anyway, it's the last person to tweet me 6 minutes ago.
He would be angry. He's a bit simple.
Is he?
Geoff, yeah.
Yeah, lad that goes home and away with Arsenal, and he doesn't shout from the rooftops about it. He does go home and away every single game. Clock End 88, a chap called Wesley from the East End. Salt of the earth guy he is, and really, really good follow on Twitter. Clock End 88.
Fair play. Jace?
Yeah, mine is my mate Rav. He's a top man. He's funny as hell. At RAV Rav _20. Top man.
I know the other 19 and they don't like him.
Well, they can go fuck themselves.
I've asked him about this many times and he refuses to tell me where they are.
Dom?
Good.
Well, as Danny knows, there was some controversy on Twitter the other week with our good mate Jimmy Trader. So there is only #1 Jimmy Trader. There was an imposter. He was very upset. Yeah,
he's one of your lot, isn't he?
He was. Yeah, I was very disappointed. So I felt that I had to step in there and try to resolve the situation.
What's this? I've not heard of this. What's gone on here?
Late night shenanigans.
It was just a bit of fun. It was a bit
Someone
funny,
else
but,
has got the @ of Jimmy Trader, and our Jimmy Trader wanted it back, and he wouldn't sell it to him.
Yeah, he was up. He wanted to get Fife in to kind of broker the deal, but Fife was non-responsive, and it just didn't work out.
Fife turned his back on him.
I know. He's probably not going to get contacted again for a while. He's in the
who's Jimmy Trader? Am I missing something?
He is the funniest person on Twitter by a country mile, Geoff.
49
really?
not out.
Arsenal 49 not out. It is amazing. It is amazing.
Arsenal 49 not out.
Yeah.
If you need any stocks and shares ideas, ask him. We're
Jimmy
not
Trader.
responsible.
No problem.
Just tell him that you know Fife. Well, Andrew actually doesn't know him as Fife. No, you know Andrew, and Andrew sent you his way.
He tweeted. Right. Who was he tweeting every day about pitch updates and
Ganella.
stuff? That's right.
Yeah, and he messages Piers Morgan. He tells them all. He tweets to Mark Ganella. Good night, Mark. Sweet dreams. And he sends Fife DMs saying good night.
Yeah, no, he stopped that apparently. Fife was saying the other day he hasn't heard from Jimmy Trader for a while.
But he was back on. He was back on trying to get this deal brokered.
Yeah.
Oh, well, are you sure? Fife never knows put out.
No.
I think Fife was travelling around the world again.
Oh.
Wow. To be fair.
Shocking.
Right, Chaz, your shout out, please.
Right, mine is for my friend Shabs, who is a great gooner, which roughly translates as has sorted me out with tickets for away matches.
Is he the one where he's got horse racing binoculars as his avatar?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, I know of him.
So his @ is @redbutdread, but I need to spell it because it's not how you might think. It's @REDBUTDRED. So that's red but red @redbutred. And then actually, while you're at it, you might as well follow his son, who, because they come as a bit of a Twitter double act, who is Gian _Arsenal 99. So that's GIAN _Arsenal 99, and you might recognise the latter from Arsenal Fan TV. But they're both really good guys and great on Twitter.
Chaz has just pulled a carpenter on us.
Unbelievable, mate. What's going on?
Named everyone he knows.
First time up, he's taking liberties. What's going on?
In all fairness, boys, he has kind of stolen the show.
Oh, for sure.
True.
Yeah, but it's a shame.
And he knows better. He knows Dennis Bergkamp better than what we do.
Exactly.
True.
I'm not being funny.
I'm
going to clean the boots, Chaz. It's not a problem. Jeez.
So, all that's left then is to thank my wonderful panellists tonight. Geoff, Dom, Jason, Chaz, and Danny, you have to be here. Thank you so much for I know. And I'll probably be here next week and a week after.
This pod might not make any sense after I try and fish it all together. I might have to get one of you two to send me your file.
Yeah, no problem, pal. If you need to, let me know tonight before 12 because...
Gimli hasn't finished yet.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Tits.
So I'll wrap it up then. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Meow.
If that one makes any sense, would have done well.
I enjoyed that. That was good crack, that lads. Well done. Yeah, well done.
Chaz, you're a star. You're gonna have to come on more.
He's a good
Oh,
man,
I'd love
Chaz.
to. I'd love to come back. Thank you. I
Yeah,
loved it.
Chaz, you'll have to come back on a day that our Skype isn't being a total twat.
It's never done it before. I'll have to. It's been a while since I've updated shit.
Literally, normally, most weeks we are bang on Skype, 7:30, 8 o'clock we start recording, it's straight through the show, push button, end, done.
We're only
I
half
just
hour late.
realised when I started naming terrorist groups that it all went wrong, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah, good show.
Oh,
Right.
Dad, I've got the music for tonight.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Lady Hawk, Paris is Burning.
I've
I
never
love that
heard
tune.
of it.
Well, look it up on YouTube. Fucking play
That's
it.
what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
Jesus wept. Have I got to
Do
think
it now. Found it.
There you go.
Probably shit.
No, it's great. It's a little bit of techno.
Go on, let Jason have this one.
Why,
Oh yeah, he can have it.
I had Rick Astley the other week.
Rick rolled. I still preferred it when you actually sang it out.
I know.
Well, it's quite old 80s, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. It's 10 years ago.
What, techno?
I don't know.
Is it techno?
First 10 seconds.
No, there's a bit of techno in there, sort of thing. You know,
gotcha.
it's all synthesized. It's quite good. You'll quite enjoy it. I tell you what, boys, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done, lads. Well done.
You guys are going to have a whip around for me and Chaz buy us a massage because we're going to be have sore shoulders from carrying you fuckers all night.
Like it.
Fucking hell.
All right then, boys. I'm going to love you and leave you again.
Yeah.
Very good, Geoff. Very good.
And speak again soon, yeah?
Take care,
Cheers,
mate.
Geoff.
Good luck, boys. Tomorrow.